Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners regular workshop to order for March 8th, 2022. We'll begin our meeting with the invocation given by Commissioner Harvey, and Commissioner Turner will lead us in the pledge. If you could please stand.
Let us bow our heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for today, a day we've never experienced before in our life, a day that we can make decisions and communicate amongst ourselves to promote Putnam County and the well-being of our county. And Lord, we know there's unintended consequences whenever we meet, but Father, we just ask today that we can debate those unintended consequences, have your mind in our heart, be guided by your wisdom if we seek it, and we seek it today, Father. We thank you for all the things you do for us. And Father, we also ask for protection upon those people that are in the war zones today, trying to live through that life. Father, we ask that you just intercede on their behalf. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harvey and Commissioner Turner. We'll move down to item 2, public comment on agenda items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It's not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in debate or deliberation on matters which the board has not received any prior information. Any individuals wishing to make public comment on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we will move down to 205. We've got to wait a few minutes. Is item 4, we pulled that?
Mr. Chairman, that's fine. If you'd like to move to item 4 at this time. Staff has requested that we pull that item until we can get some further documentation as far as costs might be associated with this project.
Okay. Okay, we got 1 more minute.
Does everybody know why we're waiting a minute?
We have a 2:05 certain for the Port Authority, so can't start until 2:05.
I don't think I can hear you back.
Lars, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Be better if you were closer to the mic.
Okay, I'll try to do that. I spoke the other day at Even Lions Park, and they said I needed to speak up and get close to the mic, and I said if I get any closer, it's going to be in my mouth. Is it touching it? So,
I could listen louder, I suppose.
yes, sir, you could.
Okay.
Okay, we'll recess the Board of County Commission workshop, and I'll convene the Port Authority workshop. Okay, we'll start with public comment on any Port Authority items. Any individual wishing to make public comment on Port Authority items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move down to general discussion of any Port Authority items. Commissioners, any discussion on Port Authority items? Commissioner Adamsack?
Yeah, I just want to just thinking about what was talked about this morning, I really didn't participate a whole lot in that conversation, but when we get forward with the Port Authority discussion we talked about with as far as what properties we have and things like that, I think we're seeing with the purchase of that property, other things where we're trying to figure out where the funding is going to come from in the interim until we have an active port and a port manager, whatever that looks like in the future. We just need to really be cognizant, and in lieu of having a port manager or someone like that, we need to start thinking on our own as a group of how we can utilize that facility to generate some self-sustaining now that we've kind of drawn down the funds a bit over the past 18 months to several years. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Administration, any comments on Port Authority?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, we're good.
Okay, seeing none, we'll adjourn the Port Authority, and I'll reconvene the regular Board of County Commission workshop. And we'll move down to Commissioner's requests. And item A, Commissioner Harvey, a biosolids discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My goal today was to talk to you about we kind of turned over a proposed ordinance to the Planning Commission, and we waived the fees as they start working through the process. My concern today was to try to make some type of a ban moratorium, if you will, on outside biosolids coming to the county before the Planning Commission gets the ordinance ready and brings to us. But there seems to be a new wrinkle in the situation. So I'm going to ask Rich to kind of go over some of the conversations we just had a few minutes ago, if it's all right with you, Mr. Chairman.
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
So what we were talking about earlier is that during the past couple legislative sessions in 2019 and 2020, the legislature actually passed a preemption that stops us from entering a moratorium, or it looks like regulations to the ordinances. And it says that anything that was adopted prior to November 1st, 2019 can continue until repealed, but it also gave direction to the Department of Environmental Protection to draft regulations. So in that direction, I've talked with Mr. Quintus about trying to follow up as to what the status of those current regulations are, but it appears that this area is going to be preempted to the state. There was some state discussion in the legislature about the Indian River moratorium, and there's also, I think, the city of Fellsmere, but that's all that's kind of out there right now. So essentially, a lot of these things are on hold. I don't know if those rules have already been adopted and then ratified by the legislature or not, and that's what we're trying to get an answer to.
Well, that seems to be, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Hang on just a second. Okay.
sorry.
All right, Commissioner Rawls, you had the first question. You done right now?
I'm done,
Good,
yes.
Larry.
All right,
Okay.
so can you paraphrase that I think I understand what you're saying, but are you saying our hands are tied?
We can continue to enforce our ordinance as it is now, but there's a preemption that says we cannot enter a moratorium after November 1st, 2019.
Is it strictly regarding biosolids, or is
Yes.
it involving? Oh, I'm sorry. Is this strictly involving biosolids?
Yeah, the 2019 bill was House Bill 829, and Section 2 of that bill dealt with Class B biosolids. That's what the Section 2 said. And then in 2020, under Florida Statute 403.0855, under subsection 6, it says a municipality or county may enforce or extend a local ordinance, regulation, resolution, rule, moratorium, or policy, any of which was adopted before November 1st, 2019, related to the land application of Class A or Class B biosolids until the ordinance, regulation, resolution, rule, moratorium, or policy is repealed by the municipality or county.
But we didn't have that in place prior to 19,
Our old ordinance was, yeah.
but it didn't preclude anybody from dumping or spreading on the ground.
Correct.
So we can't enforce something that wasn't in place.
Correct. I mean, we can't change it at this point. That's why we're trying to determine the status of what the direction was from that House and Senate bill.
So when you say you're trying to determine the status,
We're reaching out to the state, to DEP, to find out if they have passed rules, what those rules are, and it also says that those rules have to be ratified by the legislature.
so until the rules are ratified by the legislature, would it not be prudent for us to disallow anything from happening between now and then?
I don't think we
Didn't you just say
can.
we couldn't?
Yeah, I don't think we can. That was what Gabriel's question was.
So you're saying there's absolutely no way around this?
Well, I don't know that there's no way, we just haven't found it yet.
We're looking.
Yeah, we're looking right now. Okay, Commissioner Rawls, you okay at this time?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
Basically, part of that was what I was gonna say, but I think we need to try and determine if we can do anything, or if we've been preempted before the planning commission wastes time on an ordinance that we can't change. So I think we were gonna prepare an ordinance to them, possibly changing or amending our current ordinance not to allow out-of-town, out-of-state, out-of-county biosolids to be brought in. But it sounds to me like unless something changes, we can't. If we try to change our ordinance, it might cause the current ordinance we had to be repealed instead, so it'd be worse instead of better. So, okay, yeah, that would be my only request, is we don't let the planning commission waste time on it if it's not something we can do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Adamczyk?
Can you reread what the ordinance, what this thing from the state said? I apologize. We can't.
I'll tell you what, if it helps, maybe I can just send you all the section of the statute that I read off. I mean, I can read it again, but
So does it preempt us from making a new ordinance?
that's my understanding.
So how does home rule figure into this?
Wait a minute, he's,
Sorry.
falls out
'Cause-
the floor. That's,
I mean, repealing isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world if we could write a new ordinance.
I think what it said, if I understood correctly, was if you repeal, it's gone.
yeah.
Can't have a new ordinance. We got some, at least something now.
Are you gonna read it again, Rich, or you want him to read it again?
Well, I was just letting you
Commissioner
know.
Adamczyk?
If you could send it to us, and maybe if we
Okay.
took a,
I can send you, it's Florida Statute 403.0855, and it's for biosolids management
403 what?
0855. And I'll send it to you in just a second. It's that subsection 6 that says a municipality or county may enforce or extend a local ordinance, regulation, resolution, rule, moratorium, or policy, any of which was adopted before November 1st, 2019, relating to the land application of Class A or Class B biosolids until the ordinance, regulation, resolution, rule, moratorium, or policy is repealed by the municipality or county.
so I don't see anywhere where it says we can't create a new policy.
So this was the Senate Bill, I think, 712 in 2020. So the 2019 House Bill 829 was the one that says essentially everything I just read, or until the effective date of the rules adopted by the Department of Environmental Protection, whichever occurs first. So if those have already come into place, then it's going to be preempted.
Commissioner Adamczyk?
I'd have to read it more to,
And I'll get it to you. I'm just looking it up now to copy.
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to apologize to you in the audience. Sometimes trying to do the right thing. If we get preempted, Commissioner Rawls was right. Every year we're preempted by legislation that attacks home rule. Home rule is basically letting local government do what we feel is right for the people and based on how the people want to be governed. And what I'm hearing, we just had a meeting just prior to walking in here where we determined that this could be a problematic. I had one this morning with Gabriel, and so we had a chance to talk outside and found out that this could be a problem. What we don't know is if the legislators ratified it and the rules came down. So that's where we're at right now, is trying to make sure if that happened. But this commissioner would love to be on, and I'll tell you, I've said it a long time, and most of us have. I think we need to do a moratorium, a ban on Class B biosolids from coming into our county until we know the dramatic effect, because Commissioner Rawls said something one day, and Commissioner Adamczyk, I do hear a lot. We were having a little joke earlier today, but you know, he mentioned about all the lots in West Putnam, and some of you heard me say this before. You know, if Putnam County grows, and let's just say that all the lots in West Putnam that are platted out there, and God knows there's thousands of them out there. How much can our environment handle with septic tanks and stuff? Because there is no municipality out there interested in doing septic to sewer. So that's out of the question. So how much can we really put into our aquifer, into our land, without harming our environment? And I think that's the question we need to be asking before we, not only before we allow biosolids, but in conjunction with that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to want to turn your tap water on. You're going to want to drink something that's not contaminated. And you're going to have to drink something. You might live a few days without food, but you can't live long without water. And we're learning that more and more. Whether you like certain things that are going on in our environment or not, there's water resources out there. And I think we have to be mindful of that, even in our high water recharge areas. And West Putnam has a lot of that with the sandy soil we have. So I apologize. Had I known, I thought we knew, I would have not brought this up right now. But it really is something that's near and dear to my heart, is to trying to protect our natural resources, our water, and the biosolid application. So we're going to get to the bottom of this, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Rawls?
Rich, a municipal or county may enforce or extend a local ordinance. The definition of extend on the Oxford English Dictionary is to add to something in order to make it bigger or longer. So why can we not extend our ordinance to include or exclude?
Extend deals with time, that's amending, and there's a legal definition.
There's
for
a lot of definitions for extend. Which definition?
Chairman, do we actually have to have a debate with our attorney on whether,
No, I'm-
on who's
He just
It's-
asked me.
One thing I've learned about attorneys is when you ask their opinion, you get their opinion. I'm now coming from a different angle. I think when I read it the second time, I think we have an opportunity to extend the ordinance, which would allow us to expand it. It says they may enforce or extend a local ordinance, regulation, resolution, rule, moratorium, or policy. So I think we should look at the possibility of extending this until somebody says that the definition of extension means to just make something longer. We're making it broader.
Putnam County's never had an ordinance that changes a land development regulation ordinance and called it an extension. We always call it an amendment.
I'm a trailblazer. I mean, so it doesn't preclude amendments. It doesn't say restrict it only to. I think this is very, very vague, and it's one of the situations that we need to dig into. I think it leaves the door wide open for us, to be honest with you. I don't think that that in any way the state meant to preclude home rule in any way, shape, fashion, or form, and restricting us and telling us that we have to let people dump on us. I just think that's absolutely absurd if we're thinking that direction.
Okay, Rich, you say you wanted to look into this further? Okay, is that agreeable with the commission when you're looking to bring it back to us as soon as you can?
if his opinion changes,
Right, if his opinion changes.
if it stays the same, what are we gonna bring it back for? We can't do anything.
Right,
I'm not happy about it either, but I'm not gonna argue with him about it.
right. That's what I meant, is it comes back and it either say, I'm confirming what I told y'all the other day, or no, I think we can do this. Is that fair enough, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Anything else on the biosolids? Okay, all right, we'll move down to Commissioner Turner, Citizen Service Software Update.
I just asked that, Siafi come today and give us an update of where we are on the Citizen Serve software and some of the things that he's trying to do to eliminate the backlog and what created part of the backlog and that we're having at the building department. And so, I know after having conversations with him that we had approved another plans examiner last year. We haven't been able to find one to do it at the present time. So you can make all the plans you want, but if you can't find anybody to help fill them plans, then there's not much you can do. So that's why I asked for this today. Thank you for coming, Mr. Selfie.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Afternoon.
Been asked to provide an update on this new permitting system we have live. Went live on January 18th of this year. It has been active now for 35 business days. In those 35 business days, we have had 1,379 permit applications. And of those 1,379 applications, we've issued 714 permits. So I think we're about, for the time specified, we're about 207 over what we did last January, February. So with this data conversion, we had some hurdles that we had to overcome. We had 20 years of data migrated, and we've had a lot of pending plan review files that during the conversion, they didn't get migrated, so we've had to manually migrate those. We've been working to link contractors to existing permit projects. That's when we can. Some of the data got transferred, and there's no way to do that. So I know you had that issue, right? Of course. So
I haven't said anything to anyone. I have an office staff for that.
it just worked out that you happen to be one of the lucky ones. So
Actually,
it worked out well for me.
We're across the street, so it really doesn't bother us.
I got you. So, and the reason is the way they migrated those permits you had, it fell into where we couldn't edit any of the contacts or anything like that. I don't know why that happened, but we've been working diligently with Citizen Serve and the IT department to try to fix some of these issues. So along with the help from IT, we've been working to correct some of the financial data, how it gets reported to our accounting software. We've had some issues with that reporting to our financial software, so we're working on that daily. The system's working as intended, Mr. Turner. It's actually working a little too well for us. The influx of the online submittals along with the in-person permitting has bottlenecked for us at the front counter. So we're not adequately staffed at the front line at this time to keep up with the volume of permits we have. So I met with administration, Mr. Suggs and Ms. Young. We discussed some options. We've approved I've asked for 2 positions, OPS at this time. They've approved that with the hopes for us, my hopes are to make those full-time because we're gonna need them. Those are 2 positions we had years ago. They got deleted prior to this administration, but they used to run 5 or 6 permit techs up there. We're down to 3, and we've been hanging on since I started. So, and the staff's done a great job with what they've got. So once we add that frontline staff and get our process and flow of the system worked out for how it's going to work for us here in Putnam County, I believe the benefit to our department and all the citizens who use this is going to be a huge benefit for the county, because the system allows you to apply for permits remotely. You can submit and upload your documents. You can sit there and track your progress of the permit. Our inspectors can add real-time inspection results. Guys call me all the time. They're doing it in the field. They can sit there, research the permit, and not just fail somebody because they're missing a document. It might be online. They can look at it right there and go ahead and continue the inspection. So it's got a lot of cons for us, or pros for us here in the county. Some of the issues that I've heard from some of your constituents are they don't like it. They're not used to it. It's something different. I don't think I can solve those problems for you. We still have, that is only one tool in our toolbox here. So you can still come down to our office. You can make application in person and leave that day with an over-the-counter permit. But as we move forward here, we've only been live 35 business days, guys. We're doing a pretty good job. We've had a massive amount of data transferred from 20 years plus. I think once we get all the bugs worked out, and these are only minor bugs, we're actually every day, daily migrating stuff and getting it moving and making it happen. And with the staff we have on hand, I think that's a pretty good feat that we've accomplished. From 2017 to 2021, we're up 43.8% in submittals. So it's increasing every year. I have not even done this year yet. That was for 17 to 21. So I'll entertain any questions you have about the software, Mr. Turner.
I don't really have any questions, but I would like to make some comments.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I think we need to make sure that everybody hears that may listen to this on TV in the future is, if you got a problem with the current software, you can still come down like you did in the old days.
Absolutely.
And turn in your application by hand. So I've never seen of a time that anybody tried to do any kind of change that there wasn't some kind of adversity to it, especially if that was a technological change.
Right.
And, so I wanted to get that on. And I think we need to delve a little deeper into the fact that part of the biggest issue that we've been having here with basically what I call over-the-counter permits, or permits that should be issued in day, is that because of the bottleneck that they were having of all the new permits coming in, they physically didn't have somebody to issue those permits. Even though they come in, they're not automatically done on somebody has to look at them, say, yes, that qualifies, and input it. So, Mr. Siafi has assured me that one of these new people coming in will be able to free up and be able to do that, to where the permits that should be one-day type permits will again be one-day type permits instead of until somebody can be turned loose to do it. So I just wanted those comments to be on camera for when the contractors continue to call me. I can say, I need you to go to the workshop tape and take a look at it and listen to it. You still have your old options. You have these new options, and we have used this new software, and I think it is gonna be an advantage once everybody gets used, and there's a learning curve. So once everybody gets used to it, I think it is gonna help. I just had a project recently that, there were some issues with the design on it. I didn't have to wait until I got a letter at the end of the project, because as they went through their different review stages, it gave me the opportunity to start working on some of those issues before I would have actually ever known about them previously. So that's gonna help, those kind of things. So, you know, I hope that mainly the one-day permits we've been having a lot of issue with them because we didn't have somebody inputting that information. Hopefully, I'm glad to hear that you were approved for the other two people up front, because if you hadn't been, I was gonna ask them to do it today. So thank you for that, because I think that's a real issue over there. If we can get this inputted and get back to issuing daily permits, permits that are daily, or that usually are issued in a day, get them issued in that day instead of waiting sometimes down the road.
So just so you know, that'll depend on when a submittal comes in, right? If you submitted 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Right, no,
I just want you to know, so that bottleneck, if we have that other person, that's all they're doing, is the gatekeeper for online permit submittal. We didn't have that on the other system, and we were playing catch-up all the time. So administration is very supportive of our department. They've listened to my needs. They've already made the moves for us to go ahead and post it. We have an interview on Wednesday for the first permit tech. So we've multitasked as far as we can go. I can't stretch the front staff anymore. They are rocking and rolling. They're not sitting there. I can assure you that. So
I'm good with that,
me and
John.
Leo are also processing these permits online just to try to help out. I've got Mary from Code Enforcement going up front to help out. I think we've extended every option we have, and this is where we're at. We need to fill those vacant positions that were deleted in previous years and get us back to where we need to be.
Hopefully, we can find somebody to do it sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
Because that's my biggest concern I've been hearing from the street, or permits taken. You know, when you turn in a set of plans for a construction project, most folks understand it's gonna be 3 weeks plus because of all the reviews and what have you, but permits like residential roofing or certain permits don't take but just long, and a demo permit in many cases is just a
Correct.
come in, put in your paperwork, and that it should be out the door. And I understand if you turn it in on 4 o'clock on Friday, you're not gonna get it Friday.
Right.
But you should get it Monday.
Absolutely. And those same day permits are still happening when you actually come into the department. So, and that's only because of lack of hands. We need bodies. So
Thank you, I'm done for
Okay.
now.
Julianne, you had a comment?
Yes, sir. Just to clarify, on those OPS positions, when Mr. Siafi came to administration, Mr. Suggs wanted an immediate solution. And within our policy, we have an immediate solution, but I want everybody to understand that it's temporary in what he has, or what administration has the authority to do. So we can utilize those OPS positions on a temporary basis and see how that assists Mr. Siafi's plan. However, permanent additions to our personnel count has to be authorized by the board and not by administration. So we will only be able to utilize those OPS positions up to the extent Mr. Suggs is authorized to do so, which would be budget availability through attrition or vacancies or turnover in his department throughout the last year. So we do have an immediate Band-Aid that we are applying for Mr. Siafi to see how far that gets him. We've also taken some other options that administration has in order to help him keep one employee who we expect to be losing or expected to lose, and maybe we won't, maybe we will, but so we kind of are double filled a position. Again, we have the authority to do so within the policy set by the board through the attrition that his department has had or through the vacancy of not being able to fill other positions. However, both of those are temporary solutions. And should administration feel that we need a long-term solution, then that will be something that the board will have to authorize.
Okay, Commissioner Turner, then we'll go to Commissioner Harvey.
Those two positions used to be there. We took away back in 9 or 10 or back when they were not having as nearly the
Yes, sir.
permit pressure they're having
Yeah.
now.
Yes, sir.
I'm prepared to make a motion that those two positions be given back to them, because I don't see this this is not going to be short-term, and we can always take it back if things back down and the amount of permits that are coming in back down again. It just, we can't make a permit that should be issued in a day. We can't make that be 9 to 10, 12 days because there's physically nobody there to do it.
Sure.
So I'll make that motion if you'll allow it in a workshop, Mr. Chairman, to give those two positions back to the building department permanently until such time as they don't need them any longer.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me.
Second.
Okay, got a proper motion and a proper second. I'll open that up for discussion, and then we'll move on to questions for Mr. Siafi. So any questions on the motion to fund those positions? Commissioner Rawls?
I think, if we brought every department head in here and asked them if they had an opportunity to increase their positions to be able to better serve the public, the answer would probably unequivocally yes. I don't know that this is the right time to do this right now. We have a temporary solution. I think if we're going to do this, we should be doing this, looking at all departments, looking at all department needs and where the funding's going to come from. I just, as a contractor, I'd love to be able to go in there and pull a counter permit, but, or get permits picked up in less than 6 weeks. But I understand that we are challenged right now as a citizen. I think that there's enough trash on the side of the road. There's enough ditches that need to be maintained. We have issues with culverts that need to be addressed. We have bridges that need to be addressed. We don't have enough staff and personnel to be able to handle our parks and recreations. Our buildings are not up to snuff. I think there's a lot of need in the community and in the county, but I don't know that this is fair to or equitable to the other departments, let alone our constitutional officers. So I just would think that we need to have a more vibrant conversation about this, other than just saying, let's just do this. I'd like to know where the money's going to come from, because these are permanent positions, so we're increasing staffing at this point.
To answer the question on, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Julie.
to answer the question on funding, as typical with any position that we hire, the general fund funds his position, what's not offset by fees that he collects. So funding for the remainder of this year would come from the general fund. Funding for next year, reserves, funding for next year would be budgeted in as would per normal personnel cost.
Yeah, but we got enough money through not being able to hire somebody else for that. They're gonna have plenty of payroll money.
Commissioner Harvey is next.
And that doesn't get rid of mine. This is discussion on the debate. I think Commissioner Rawls, I understand your point, but I don't think it's valid. We have other department heads who have open positions that can't fill them. I don't want, the reason I seconded the comment was, I want you to find somebody who wants to be here for a while. Just a temporary job, that's not gonna cut it. We know we're growing, we know we're going forward. We've seen a 41% increase in the 4 years. Let's find somebody that we can say, you're gonna be here a while. That's why I seconded that, because I don't think it's part-time. We can have any other department, they have openings. If we could fill them today, we could fill them today. But we don't have that ability. But your department didn't have that ability to have somebody else in there. And we're creating that now for you. And that's why I wanted to comment on the motion.
Okay.
I
All right.
have something.
Commissioner Rawls, and I'll call for the
So-
question.
Yes and no to what Commissioner Harvey just said. I think this flies in the face of every employee that works here that's been looking for equitable pay, because I doubt you're going to be coming up here saying, I'm looking for this position and we're going to staff it with a $30,000 a year person.
No.
But we have people that are making a lot less than that work for the county. We have positions that we can't fill, I would imagine a lot of times because of our pay scale. So I think that this is just one of those situations where I've been very honest with you since the day that I got elected. And I support your department. I believe that you should support yourself. I have no use for building a department if I'm not building a house myself. If I am building it for somebody else, I'm paying you for your service through permit fees. I don't think that this bodes well for the other employees of the county. And then when I take a look at the other constitutional officers and where they are, do you have any idea what pay level we're looking at, non-inclusive of benefits?
I do. It's a pay grade of 19T, and that starts at $12.05. But I'd like to speak to the
$12.05 an hour?
equitability of this. So when I took this department over 4 years ago,
What?
4 years ago, they were short-staffed. We handled only the county and a couple little areas, Interlochen, Pomona Park. Since then, we've agreed to take over City of Palaca, Crescent City, and I advise administration, those positions that were deleted in the lean times, we're gonna make do until I can't make do anymore. We've now hit that threshold. It's not a matter of let's just get rid of Palaca, let's get rid of Crescent City. We are providing a service that covers the whole county. We've lowered their flood premiums by providing a good service. I've asked our staff to do things that they are not tasked to do normally, right? So this department has multitasked ever since I've been here. I've rearranged, I've reorganized, but we do generate revenue, right? And so we are handling massive amounts of workload with short staff, and we've done it for 4 years of my term. I think it's time to put those positions back that had been here for 20 years, and then when we leaned up, we got rid of them. It's not I don't think it's a comparable position to a guy cutting the grass. We are a enforcement agency, one. Two, we could get to a point where we're self-funded through fees down the road. The fees should cover the service, and I think that's where we're all headed to. But that'll take some work. But in the meantime, to cut back on our problems in this county, we need somebody to shuffle those permit applications.
But then to Commissioner Harvey's point, $12.25 an hour, $12.50 an hour, you're talking less than $26,000 a year.
Right.
Are they gonna stick around here? Are they gonna be a long-term employee? Because in 3 years, they're gonna be making minimum wage. They're gonna be they're gonna be at the 40% AMI level. So
So the pay grade is at administration
I
level. I'll
got
let
it.
them handle that, but I will tell you this, the 3 frontline staff that I do have been with us. The longest guy's been 7 years. He's not outside cutting grass in the heat. He comes to an air-conditioned facility, he enjoys his job, he likes the culture, and he's staying with us.
but is outside in the grass cutting in the heat worth more per hour than somebody's in the air conditioning?
I don't know.
I don't understand the
So
correlation.
it's a skill level. We
Yeah.
have to determine what that skill level is. Our guys that sit at the front, guys and gals that sit there, have a massive amount of work to know Florida statutes, laws and rules. So there's certification
But I'm
processes for those
perplexed
spots.
because I'm hearing this and I'm hearing $12 an hour, and in my mind.
That's what the rate is for that position at this
But
point.
in my mind, in my world, $12 an hour, we don't start people that low in my business, and we wouldn't. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around that because we're talking about creating new positions, knowing what the expectations are with the state of Florida with minimum wage in the next few years.
Yeah, I got you. I'm confused. Could I ask a question, just please?
Yes.
Are you for it or against it? You want them to, you're not for it, but you want to pay them more, you're not for it? You got me completely confused.
So if we're doing it, I wanted, like Commissioner Harvey said, I think we should do it right. I think the people should be paid and compensated. $12 an hour in today's dollars does not go very far. And it won't spend any better next year or the year after as that we get close to that $15 an hour threshold. So I don't know that this is a good thing. It's obviously a good thing if we can alleviate some of the bottleneck that you're talking about. But I think this is a conversation. We have a temporary solution. I think we should go with that until we can have a meaningful conversation regarding pay across the board for all county employees and what we look like in the next 3 or 4 years.
Okay, all right. Keep that in mind. And Commissioner Adamsack, last question, I'll call the question.
I think the municipalities that gave over their load to us were really smart, first of all. I guess the other part of it is, the conversation about the income of our employees across the board is a conversation we need to have as a commission. It doesn't apply to your department any more than any other department.
Right.
I can't make that comparison. That's based on the market, right? And we have an HR director who is going to be able, at some point when we bridge this gap, is going to be able to tell us what different rates and different jobs, what the averages and things like that. And we'll have to decide as a commission and as staff whether or not we're going to get to those averages, or we're going to stay below them, or we're going to exceed them. That's a conversation that's holistic that we need to have across the board with every group of employees in this county. And the minimum wage thing just exasperates the speed at which we need to do that. I'd love to see us have that conversation sooner than later. I know there's some tasks being bandied about, trying to get to the minimum wage and things like that. But we need to look beyond that because 2026 isn't that far off. And if we just get everyone to $15 an hour, we're going to be exactly where we're not competing with Walmart greeter to hire someone to do codes and for. I mean, it's just a ridiculous concept in my head. I'm for this because it's the need goes to the community, but I also think we need to find a way to allow that department specifically to generate more income to cover what the cost is for that department. So if we're not planning to do that, then there's no reason to do this. But if we're planning to holistically go and figure out a way for them to generate more fees or to the people that use the service, then I think it makes sense. But this again is, I think we always have the cart kind of before the horse a little bit because we're reacting. At some point we have to get to where we're pulling the cart and not pushing the cart. And this is another example where we're just pushing the cart because we're reacting to a situation that's today. And I think we need it, so we have to do it. At some point, I hope that we can vote for something where we're not sitting here saying we have to do it. That's why we're voting for it. Hopefully someday we can get to the point where we're voting something to fix things long term.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adamsack. All right, got a motion on the floor and a proper second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, moves 4-1 with Commissioner Rawls dissenting. Okay, back to, John, back to the questions on citizenship.
You were hoping you could be like Sarah and be real quick.
We've already passed that point. We're good.
I believe I got this in order, Commissioner Harvey and then
Thank you.
Commissioner Rawls.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I only have one question, and then you brought up another one that we dealt with the other day. So I'll go to my first one. 35 days, you've done 1,300 applications.
1379.
Okay, 1,379. Out of that, 700 were issued.
Correct.
Of the 1,379 or the backlog too?
No, I'm giving you, what I gave you was a snapshot in time from January 18 to
So it could
yesterday.
be some of the backlog too.
Could be.
Okay.
Because there's, that part I can't account for. The ones that we had to migrate over,
Right. I
can't really count that as new submittal. It was already here. I had to flip it in the system.
No, I get it. I get it. So we're going to give you 2 OPS frontline positions today, or at permanent positions today. But don't you need more backroom support?
What we have, you guys, administration and you guys have already approved us a plans examiner. We're very creative back there. We found an inspector that's got certifications. We brought him in, he's gonna help us out to get us back to zero, hopefully.
Okay.
We have one guy retiring who has agreed to stay on with us. I know that aches management a little bit, but he's agreed to stay on with us to help us out while this guy stays in for a little while. So we are floating.
So we approved that position, you're just trying to fill that backroom position.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned demo permit. You and I had a conversation about this, and that should be a same day.
Well, that was a very,
Requi-
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But we're requiring flood zone determination
Absolutely.
on a demo permit. I don't understand that, but that's not my job. But that's not a same-day permit anymore.
It is. And that particular circumstance you're talking about, that form was sent to them. All they had to do was sign it and send it back, and that permit was ready to go. Every
So
permit that
who-
gets issued by law with FEMA, we have to do a demo. So demo, whether they're knocking it down, all it says is nothing required. You signed
Okay.
it, that's it. So
So-
there's no extra things you have to do for it.
All right, I don't want to debate that issue. My point is, it's really up to the consumer to fill out the form and not take time from a plans examiner
Correct.
to sit there and do that. I did not know that till just now.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you. That's my only couple of questions I had.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rawls?
All right, so I, to be honest with you, have not really kept up with the frustrations that have been expressed to me, and I've not heard anything from the community. It's, the only thing I've heard from is my office staff. And I think we have 3 permits that we'll just keep doing old school. Until, I don't know if there'll be a time when it gets migrated in or not, and I really don't care. You know, because like I said, we're right across the street, and it's not inconvenient for us to shoot over here. But, so the vision is that in the future, we will be paperless, correct? So me as a builder, I can submit a set of plans online, but I do not have to turn in a set of plans in paper?
So here's the deal, for commercial projects, we still need one hard copy for a job site copy, right?
Okay.
One day we will get to a point where we are totally wireless and we can look at everything on a laptop. We're not there yet,
Okay. I mean, even that's a huge savings for us, at least.
absolutely.
All right,
And your 3 permits, we've made some provisions for those non-migrated permits, right? We set up the email line, right, where you can email a request or you can call us on the inspection line and ask for an inspection. So there's still other options
okay,
for the ones that were not migrated properly.
okay. They're comfortable now. It was just, there was a week or two of, you know, what are we doing?
Right,
How are we
well,
getting it done?
We had the
can't find
same, we had the
anything.
same week or two. It
Yeah,
was-
and they were freaking out thinking that we lost inspections. We don't lose inspections. We already covered up and poured concrete. It's too late
No,
now, so, yeah.
they were all recorded. The inspections got recorded, but your contact information for that one project didn't migrate properly, so we couldn't
Okay.
give you access to look at it online.
But there will be a point in time where I think right now we're running either 7 or 10 open permits, and they'll all be under, they'll be able to log into one login and
If you
see
have
all
the
of
same,
them?
if you have the same email address for all of them, you had numerous email addresses for your permits. So when we did our data migration, they all went under different
Was it
contacts. Yes, sir.
Lindsay and Karen,
Uh-huh.
myself? Okay. All right, that makes sense. I said, I don't have a problem with it. We haven't slowed down a little bit on the job site, so everything's moving forward. When it comes to, like right now, we have a project in the city, and it's a large project. So when that one kicks off, how much more of a burden is that gonna be? Because that one's gonna be, we're doing the apartments, that one's gonna be running at a pretty fast pace, and it'll require a lot of attention.
Inspector-wise, we're covered. We have never had a problem with inspector-wise. I've had the boxes loaded back there. Those guys are ready to go.
Okay, because my next question would be, should we be looking at using private providers at that point? 'Cause, you know, if you,
You definitely have an option if you want to go private provider, but I guarantee that we will beat that service every time.
okay. What I
Guarantee it.
What I don't want to
Guarantee.
happen is, you know, if we lay down and we're looking at a very rapid build cycle where you have a clubhouse, a swimming pool, and 10 buildings over here. So you have inspections almost every single day, and sometimes you'll have multiples. It's going to tie one person up, I would imagine, for several hours a day.
Yeah, so through the GP process, we had the same thing going on. We had a guy out there every day.
Okay,
Yeah, not a problem.
okay.
Okay, Commissioner Adamsack?
I just want to be clear. I mean, granted, I don't have a lot of huge projects in District 5, but there's a lot of houses being put up and a lot of trailers being put up and a lot of individual homesteaders looking, starting their homestead. And I really have only had 3 complaints about your department in the year and 5 months as far as permitting. So I congratulate you guys on the feedback that I get in my area. And I try when someone's putting up a house or a trailer on my route between here and my house, which is basically the whole of District 5, because I live on the far end of it, to stop in and say hi. And, most people have been giving me positive feedback. So I just want to share that with you. And that I think it's 3. And 2 of those 3 were resolved with a conversation. And then the third one, I don't think will ever be resolved because of the personality of the individual. So, I mean, and we all have that in our districts. We have some people that are going to be mad about stuff no matter what we do. And those people just got to work with till they're done with their project. And, in that case, once that dude's done with his project, which I think he's done, he's probably never going to come to us again for a permit anyhow. So I just want to give you that feedback. There's some positivity out there.
Thank you.
I know you guys don't hear enough of it, so thank you for what you guys are doing.
Thank you for the comment.
Okay, thank you, John. I'll just make the comment, I'm glad you got it recorded, that you can still go back and do it the old school way. The way we have been doing it for years and years, because that would definitely help the people who have been in the business and have maybe trouble transitioning over to the complete online. Is there anything that they can pull up on the internet that would help them to navigate through this software, or is it any staff member that you have designated to answer those questions? What can they do if they're just frustrated, other than come and see you?
Well, they call me all the time, but citizenserve.com has instructional videos on how to use the system. You can go right on there. It'll teach you how to apply for a permit. But the system's self-explanatory. When you log in, create an account, Mr. Turner, you guys are using it right now? Everything is drop-down menus. There's not a lot of thought, what's the address, what type of permit? It's all drop-down menus. So as you're going through there, it's like a tutorial as you're applying for a permit.
No, there is a learning curve.
No, there is, no doubt, but with any system. So if they are having issues to the extent they can't start off, citizenserve.com has all the instructional videos to watch and look at.
Okay.
And when we get some front staff, we might have somebody as a help desk for those people who are having an issue.
It may be that sometime in the not too distant future that we offer some kind of a very rudimentary beginner seminar. I mean, personally, I haven't done any of that. I got people in my office that do that actually know how to work on things,
Right.
computers and stuff. And so they were having a learning curve. Somebody that does this every day was on a learning curve. So it wasn't very long, and they're getting better at it, but there's a learning curve. For somebody who doesn't work with computers every day, an older person in the construction business or what have you, there's going to be a big learning curve. And even if we did a seminar that was real simple seminar just to give them courage to get started, then they could probably move forward with it and learn the thing. Because if we ever get to the point where we can be paperless, completely paperless, and but still offer the old-fashioned way to some degree to that point, then it's going to be a huge savings for everybody on both sides of this thing.
So just to expand on this a little bit, as you're applying for a permit and you run into an issue, there's a help request. You can go live and chat live, and the guy will walk you through the permit.
Okay, cool.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Siafi.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm gonna move things around just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and open up public comment. I hated to see Ivy leave. Is she available? I figure I might have to do a baby transfer. But I'm gonna open it up for public comment on miscellaneous items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It's not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in debate and deliberation on matters that the board had seen no prior information. We ask you to fill out a blue card, but you don't have to, and you give them over to Ashley to my left, to your right. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And we will start with Cheryl Newton Dollar. Okay, so you could speak into the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I am Cheryl Newton Dollar. I reside at 2406 South Palm Avenue, and I appreciate the invitation from Commissioner Rawls to come speak to you today. And is Miss Laura here?
Yes.
That was the best interaction I have had in a long time when I called and talked to you. I really, really appreciate it. And I understand she's leaving, but
No, just moving up.
just move it up, okay?
Sarah's leaving.
We hope you replace her with somebody who's just as nice. The reason I'm here today is to discuss this particular issue is I am losing my eyesight. I cannot see your names. I do know who you are, but I can't see your names. It is a challenge, but I'm dealing with it. Each day I discover new issues and also realize I share obstacles with many other residents of this county. I don't even know them. As I encounter an obstacle, this has been true of my life, I figure out how to make it work. It is what it is. I am a huge fan of public libraries. A community is measured by how well their residents are served by their library system. Our Putnam County Library System offers services to all residents, and they do a great job. Recently, I decided I wanted to try audiobooks for obvious reasons. I haven't read a real book in several years, and I miss them very much. And yes, I love the smell of books. I used to love to smell of the stacks at the Larimer when I was a kid. E-books and audiobooks are expensive because you get them from Amazon and all that, and that adds up. But you can borrow those devices, audiobooks and e-books, through our library, almost every library. I haven't read an actual paper in several years. You can imagine how hard that is, holding a magnifying glass and holding a paper. But I have a digital subscription to the Palatka Daily News, and I don't know what I'd do without it. And I did it online. So I finally decided to borrow audio and ebooks through my library. No problem. I need a library card. No problem. But in Putnam County, the only way you can get a library card is to go in person to the physical building. That is a problem. I don't drive anymore. In Duval County, Miami-Dade, and Flagler County, you can get a library card online. In Haywood County, North Carolina, you can get a library card online. I'm very fortunate to have a super support system, and last week, my extraordinary husband drove me to the library to get my library card. He had to fill out the application for me, obviously, and he had to put the number in the app that you use. And I want to show you this. Can any of you read this? I can't read it either, okay? The number is on the back. No way can I read that. So I just wanted to show you that's just one little problem. So how many residents of this county are not as fortunate as I am? A lot. If you can't drive and have no one to take you, what do? I'm here to ask you to make what I think is apparently an easy change. If other counties can do it, I don't know why we can't. Simply allow residents to apply for a library card in the same way they're going to check out the digital information. They should go together. This is not a big decision or a hard change to make. Change the process and make reading accessible to everyone. Thank you very much, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Rawls?
So when you held the card up, one of the things that went through my mind was, If somebody got your card number, what would prevent them from being able to go online and log in and check a book out?
Oh, I'm sure they could. There's an app called Libby. You have to install the app on your phone, iPad, wherever, for whatever you want. And you can put it in each time if you want to. It's not saved. And when I tried to put it in, my husband had to put it in the app. So it is in the app, but it's my app. Somebody could steal my phone, but that's.
So, and when I was talking to you today, and I've never checked out an audiobook, but apparently when you check out an audiobook, you have to return it virtually. Because
Yes.
I guess we only have so many licenses for that. So I found that interesting. I just thought, man, you listen to it,
You're
it goes
done.
away, yeah.
It's done.
It's not like that. So,
Did you know that? Okay.
They're copyrighted, that's why. Makes sense.
Yeah, I've never given any thought, to be honest with you.
Well, that ain't there.
But, so, when I was talking to Ms. Dollar, it dawned on me that this is one of those, problems that we have that could be fixed very simply. We just finished a conversation, we're talking about going, where you can apply for an entire building permit.
Exactly.
Every step of the building department,
We
so.
can fix this.
That was very interesting to me, but not a book.
Okay.
And
Commissioner Turner?
actually, I just point out that if you were physically handicapped, like in a scooter, the sidewalk system from almost anywhere, you can get to the library. In fact, years ago, I used to take my granddaughter there for reading time with toddlers. And there was a gentleman who rode his scooter every whatever day it was. And so he could do that, you don't want me in a scooter.
No.
So, to me, it's a simple change. If, good heavens, if Flagler County can do it, and you just make the system like a separate system. For everybody else in the world, come on down, get your library card, and go look at the books. What I would give to look at the books, and I can't do it anymore. I was in a famous bookstore in San Francisco a few years. Bookstores don't do me any good. I'm looking like this, got a magnifying glass. It's not as fun like it used to be.
Okay, Ms. Dollar, we got a couple more questions and then we'll move on.
Okay.
Commissioner Turner?
I don't really have a question, just a comment. What we got to do to get this done? This is ridiculous.
We'll absolutely, this is,
Okay,
yeah.
please get this. She is absolutely correct. This is ridiculous. Now that we've seen it, we need to figure a way to where they can check out audiobooks and get library cards online, and thank goodness they can still use online. So I'm just saying, please, let's make this happen as quickly as we possibly can.
We're on top of that
Since
one.
Mr. Crowley retired, you have no librarian. You have only had an acting librarian. I just happened to throw that out because I think this county deserves a qualified, real librarian.
Right, we have Ms. Stella Brown. So before I move on, I was going to not put it like Commissioner Turner, but I said, can y'all look into this and take care of this, please?
We will. Can
Well,
you,
that's why
te-
you're such a silver
can you tell us if you have a speaker card with the young lady's name and contact information so we can reach back out?
Do.
Okay.
He can find me.
All right, Commissioner
Perfect.
Harvey, and then we'll move on.
I was gonna say the same thing, but I like your shoes too, by the way. So, yeah, those are great, and we'll get that taken care of. They were orange and blue, they look better, but yes.
Well, I couldn't.
That's okay, that's okay,
They're absolutely scary because they could be garnet golden.
yes.
Right.
It's not that good.
Well, thank you, and
Okay.
chastise your son next time you see
They are
him.
garnet and gold, as a matter
He'll
of
know
fact.
why you're chastising him when I tell you to do it, so I'm not gonna say it publicly, he'll know why, okay?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dollar.
Thank you, Ms. Dollar.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, Janet Sorenberger, Biosolids. We got high tops.
I said, you'll know me, I'll be back. Since the rest of the director was-
Good afternoon.
Oh, I'm good.
Good afternoon.
My name is Janet Sornberger. I live at 387
I know the answer,
Huntington
biosolids.
Shortcut Road, Pomona Park, Florida 32181. And since I got to enjoy everyone else's, I'd love to comment on the others. As a homeschool mom, I use Libby all the time. I check it before I buy something on Audible. It'll return automatically, but you have the option to return early. I highly recommend it because If you go to the library, the CDs are going to be scratched. And Jacksonville has a much better database, but you can use an old library number. Thank you, Jacksonville. And if you have someone's number, you cannot log in without the PIN. You have to have the 4-digit PIN, just like you would use at the
You can
library.
borrow books in
I'm
Jacksonville?
still going to need my 3 minutes on biosolids.
Did you say you can borrow books from Jacksonville?
I mean, technically, I can, yes.
Really?
I used to live in
Hang on a minute,
Jacksonville.
we're gonna start you over because you went off on a different subject.
I just think it's a
Commissioner,
really good.
The chairman said I could do that.
Give you
for
3
so-
more.
There, you ready?
Hi.
Say
I'm
two.
so happy to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about backstory and how we've gotten information. There's never time for that in the past. So I've begged you for a moratorium, right? And then done research afterwards of can we, how can we, what can we do? And so I'm familiar with the language you referenced. I just didn't want to email it to you. I wanted your research to be genuine. John November is an attorney who has worked for us for free. Thank God for him. He works for the Public Trust. It's either in Jacksonville or St. Augustine. He's one of few people that I called and said biosolids, and he said, yeah, I know all about that. I was like, awesome. He actually read the nutrient management plan and submitted a response and recommendation to DEP. So I email him more than he wants me to. And I would love to read his little paragraph of his opinion of the statutes. And that was before we worked with Patrick Kennedy, and before we paid Patrick Kennedy $1. I also shared those with him, and then I have Patrick Kennedy's opinion. And to summarize in plain language, they both believe we cannot have a Putnam County moratorium, however, that it doesn't preempt against changing the land use code. Preclude? Preclude. I also want to comment that Rich's advice against the Florida Spring and Aquifer Act has been confirmed by other people that it doesn't seem to be a successful way of protecting the area. According to Attorney John November, he says, in my opinion, this law specifically states laws prior to November 1st, 2019 may be enforced or extended, but it does not seem to specifically preempt local, municipal, county regulations of biosolids. And Patrick Kennedy viewed the new ordinance as an update of the old ordinance, and he felt like that was not actually a violation of the rule. He said, my first reading of the legislation and the rules did not find where we are preempted from regulating biosolids locally, at least not from a land use perspective. We may be preempted on the science. He said he would dig a little bit deeper and look forward to hear what John said. But everyone has spoken very highly of Rich, so I'm looking forward to hear what he gets back from other people. And there's another lady, I call her Other Janet. She's focused more on the state level. She showed up and she said, hi, my name's Janet and I hired a hydrologist. I said, hi, Other Janet. She said that DEP has reiterated the specific 2019 moratoriums had to be before that. And what you said about the cart and the pusher pull, it's been our intent the whole time, if we could get the ZBOA to vote no and change the ordinance, then we're dealing with the problem now and in the future. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Rawls?
Just a comment, I still stand on the fact that, the more I read this, where it says they may enforce or extend, the commission wouldn't have to extend an ordinance. Ordinances are in place until they're changed or removed. So I think y'all might want to do some work and see if there's not a way to use that word. If we can extend it, that might be a way to combat this.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, let's see what Rich has to say when he comes. He's gonna come back with information, more information, correct?
We're going to come back with information, and the conservative nature of what I've told you so far is, just remember, Senator Hudson had introduced a bill this year while they're in their last week's session. And his bill says that anytime local government, county or municipality, regulates through their land development regulations something that could cause a financial harm to a property owner, think of your Burt Harris type claims, but it's on a business level that it can sue the county. So as there's an effort to create causes of action where people can sue the counties based on your land development regulations, just keep in mind, I'm going to be a little more conservative on my approach than other people that don't have the same type of liability. As to the term extend, I appreciate the creative nature of trying to use that word, but when you look at the group of things that it's referencing, because it talks about regulation and moratoriums, oftentimes those things do have definitive dates. That's where my interpretation of why the word extend is in there. So I would like to see that we have a definitive statement, and that's kind of what the goal is at this point. As soon as we have something to be more permanent for the commission. I don't think it's, honestly, I don't, bless you, think it's that odd that since the time where you see the statewide regulation, I mean, other than the city of Ellesmere and Indian River, you don't see any other regulation or moratoriums going on anywhere else in the state. So there's a reason for that. I just want to get to the bottom of that before I give you a formal opinion.
Okay. Commissioner Turner?
About the only comment I want to make is I believe that you could have an opinion from any lawyer, take your pick on any subject that you take your pick, and I can find another lawyer has a different opinion on it, especially if you're going to pay them to fight the other lawyer. So I'm just saying, I want to wait on Rich as the person that we hire to tell us what to do and give us his opinion. I want to wait on his opinion before we decide what we're going to do any further. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Adams-Ack?
I agree with that part of it, and I withheld comment at the time that we were talking about it just because I was surprised and upset. So I'm no longer surprised and upset. I read through the thing. I think there could possibly be ways out of it or through it, and I guess my question to you is, what risk does Putnam County have if we chose to ignore the state and move forward on our own and then ask permission later? What is the risk there?
You could be sued for damages.
By whom?
By a landowner that says you affected the rights of how they use their property. With that lawsuit, you could be potentially exposed to paying legal fees for that attorney, court costs, as well as whatever the diminished value that they claim in a court determines exists.
So that really could be any landowner in a way.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey, and we'll move to the next speaker.
Yeah, and I think we got to be mindful too, what our attorney was just telling us about the law that Senator Hudson has introduced in the Senate. It looks like it's going to be passing. Don't know if the governor will sign it or not, but there is a threshold of what, 15% adverse on if your business is affected by 15%. But my rub here is this. We want to do something that's right for our community, and our hands are tied, almost. And then we have a fiduciary responsibility because our insurance demands a duty to defend. So we're paying taxpayer money for insurance, knowing that we're going to walk into a lawsuit with a duty to defend. And that bothers me. So we've got to be very mindful of this, and I appreciate Rich digging into it. I wish we'd have done it earlier. Again, I apologize, trying to do the right thing is not really allowed up here anymore, I guess. I'm just teasing. We had a comment before. But no, I mean, trying to do the right thing, sometimes it's hard in our business, and especially if we get preempted, it's very difficult. But I don't want any more poop in Putnam County other than what we produce. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Adams-Ack, and then we'll move on.
I just want to look on I keep clicking that off. On the Hutchin thing, that's only for existing businesses, correct? It's not, they changed the wording of it now? Because originally it was for a business of record of 2 years. So I mean, it's not like you could be a new business. So we have to take into account someone that doesn't even exist yet? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, it's a prospective legislation. It'll occur as time goes on. It's not going to just stop with businesses that exist in 2022.
No, I get it, but at the time of when you make your ordinance, I thought it was any business that was in business for 2 years. So it doesn't apply to some new bios. I mean, in this instance, if we were able to do an ordinance, it would only apply to those businesses that are actively doing biosolids for business in Putnam County at the time of the ordinance change. And let's say if we were changing the rules of a milkman, right, it would only change the rules for that milkman that existed today under Hutchins. We'd only have to document that for them, and then obviously we document for everyone, but the future people wouldn't have the right to sue us under that because they're after the ordinance. That's how I understood it. So
And that's why we have lawyers.
That's why I'm asking the lawyer's opinion.
And it's probably easier to talk about it offline, but I mean,
Okay.
my view on that is you have to remember, just because you have a corporation that's engaged in a particular commercial activity, doesn't mean that they have to be engaged at a particular site. So it's not just that they haven't started the application on this site, if they've existed prior to that.
In the state of Florida.
I don't know if the bill says in the state of Florida.
I can't remember what it said, but I thought it was the state of Florida or the county, I couldn't remember. But I'll look at it again.
We'll look
too.
at the final version of the bill. There's amendments that are attached as it travels through the process.
So we definitely should be actively calling against that, just, I mean, I have been. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Janet.
If they were to sue anyway, because I believe that that expression has been presented that they have the intent to appeal, and if the appeal is denied, then they would sue the county, then it seems like it would be in the best interest of the county to protect itself if it's at risk of getting sued either way. But I guess that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Janet. Okay, any other public comment? Ivy? Nope, okay. All right, any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion, and we'll move down to commissioner comments. Start with Commissioner Adamsack.
Yeah, and I'm pretty disappointed with what we heard today. I'm looking forward to hearing what you find. And I would ask that, I don't know, I can't ask you that. I don't know. If that is the case, that we can't do something, then we definitely need, and I think if it preempts, so there was the bill in 2021, I mean, Bobby Payne presented it to several people in the room right now in Crescent City, and printed out copies, and people took them with them. And it does refer back to 4030855 in that one little section, and I didn't realize that till I was looking at it after we talked about it. And so I guess that's why we have a county attorney, because you're going to try to connect those dots for us. But you know, if that's the case, then the whole good news story we heard is crap. I guess that's where I'll leave it.
Is that
A pun? Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, all right, Commissioner Turner,
I have nothing to add.
Commissioner Rawls,
Ditto, wrong button.
no comments. Commissioner Harvey?
I'm good, sir, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to bring up, we discussed briefly this morning about Jenny Oakwood, her concerns on the animal control. Okay, and so I pulled that up. It looks like she just wants an update, is what I understand, and we're moving forward to having a meeting y'all are going to see about moving forward with a construction matter, whatever, however that's supposed to go. And that she also said, we need assistance in filling some of the positions. So how many we fill today? Two. So we're on the road there. So this should answer all of her questions. Is there anything you wanted to add there, Jeff?
No, I just got an email that said that they wanted to meet with the board regarding the positions on, I thought it said adding positions. Maybe she meant adding, replacing people that were vacancies.
Yeah, this says we just need assistance in filling the vacant positions for the advisory committee. So I think we moved forward with that today. So, okay, and that's all the comments I have. Attorney comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, Administrator Suggs?
No, sir, I'm good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I just had one question. Okay, come to the podium.
Molly Stanton, a Lake Como resident. I was searching for a Putnam County zoning appeal variance application. I stumbled across one actually in West Virginia, Putnam County, West Virginia. And the very first factor for considering a variance request will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare or rights of adjacent property owners or residents. So is something like that on Putnam County, Florida's application? Something that basic? But there's so much data showing that biosolids are hazardous to adjacent property owners. You can't just stop it from seeping in to, you know, the land and to the Putnam County Water Association, or I'm sorry, Lake Como Water Association. So why are we not going back to the basics? Like, how was this even allowed?
We're gonna,
If it's
there's a
something-
process in place, and he applied for the permits, and it's gotten this far through the process. We're trying to do something where we can change change this. So we're waiting for, our attorney's gonna come back with us with recommendations of what we can and cannot do.
That's a
And then
valid
we'll
question,
address
though.
it. Huh?
That's definitely a valid question.
Well, and the answer to that is there's two sides to that story. There's people who believe the science on the other side of it claim that it doesn't adversely affect if there are sufficient buffers in place. I'm not taking a position on it, I'm
Right.
just telling you that's the other side of the argument.
Yeah, because in doing the research, there's an EPA report showing there's 350 adverse chemical/toxins in biosolids. So, I mean, there's really there's no gray area to that. So that was just my comment. I don't understand how we even got to this place if that was number one.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you. Commissioner Adamsack?
The gray area to that is the group that regulates that in the state has made it, the gray area, a lot smaller than what you're describing. They've made it down to 9 items, and there's really, if you look at other research, there's 932. It depends on who you talk to. It all depends on what you flush down your toilet, what's in your biosolids. So if you flush nuclear waste down your toilet and it got into a tank, that's a new one that they don't account for, right? I mean, it's, the number of things that could be in biosolids is infinite, because it all depends on what you put into them. But the reason why is we have to defer to the state regulatory agency, so we can't preempt them. Unfortunately, it sounds like our state legislator at some point, which would be 2021, may have preempted us from doing anything.
Okay.
That's when they passed the Clean Waters Act that refers
County
back.
Administrator? Or that, do you have that? Okay, any further business come before this board? Okay, remember we have a 5:05 public hearing. We stand adjourned.